Welcome back to the deep dive.
This time we're tackling someone whose work you might not know by name,
Okay.
but you experience the impact of his work every day.
Every day.
Yeah, we're diving into the world of James Clerk Maxwell,
Mm.
a scientific visionary who really shaped the way we understand the universe.
And the crazy part is he did all of this back in the 1800s.
Wow.
We have this presentation that someone put together about him, and
Yeah.
honestly, it's like a treasure trove of information.
Awesome. So picture this.
1831, Edinburgh, Scotland.
All right.
James Clerk Maxwell is born.
This isn't just any kid.
He was a total whiz kid,
I've heard that.
especially when it came to math and geometry.
Ah,
Are you ready for this?
yeah.
At just 14 years old.
He published his first scientific paper.
What?
14.
Oh my God.
I mean, I was just trying to figure out algebra at that age.
I know, me too.
His brilliance was just evident from the start.
Yeah.
He went on to study at some of the best institutions,
Okay.
Edinburgh Academy, University of Edinburgh, and then Cambridge University,
Wow.
where he graduated with honors in mathematics in 1854.
So he was just like going through school.
No problem.
Yeah.
And he didn't even wait to catch his breath.
By 25, he was already a professor of natural philosophy.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was during this time that he really started delving into groundbreaking work.
Yeah.
One of his major focuses was the kinetic theory of gases.
This theory was revolutionary.
Really?
It basically explains how the tiny particles in gases,
Okay.
the molecules, are constantly moving and colliding with each other.
So they're just like bouncing around.
Exactly.
And get this, he figured out how to connect these microscopic movements to the things we can actually observe, like temperature and pressure.
Oh, so like when you pump up a bike tire
Yes,
and it gets warm,
exactly.
that's Maxwell's kinetic theory at work.
That's the heat generated by all those molecules smashing into each other.
Oh, wow.
And what's even more amazing is that his work on this theory ended up having massive implications for fields like thermodynamics and statistical mechanics.
So it's not just about gases in a container.
It's about understanding how energy works at a fundamental level.
Absolutely.
And while he was doing all of this groundbreaking work on gases,
Yeah.
he was also exploring completely different areas of science.
Okay.
He actually did a lot of research on color vision and even color photography.
Yeah, I read about that he even won a prestigious award for his work in this area,
Right.
the Rumford Medal.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is that?
It's a huge honor in the scientific world.
Okay.
The Royal Society of London awards it to researchers who make truly groundbreaking discoveries in the fields of heat and light.
Wow, so he was basically rocking multiple scientific fields at the same time.
He was, and then in 1860, he moved on to King's College London
Okay.
as a professor of physics.
All right.
This is where things really start to heat up, so to speak.
This is where Maxwell developed his famous equations that basically unify the understanding of electricity and magnetism.
Okay, this is the part where I usually start to get a little lost.
Equations sounds intimidating.
I know.
Help me out here.
But trust me.
You don't need to be a math whiz to grasp the importance of what he did.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Before Maxwell, electricity and magnetism were thought of as completely separate forces,
Uh-huh.
but his equations showed that they're actually two sides of the same coin. Two parts of a single force we now call electromagnetism.
So he didn't just come up with some equations.
He completely reshaped our understanding of how these fundamental forces work.
He did.
And the implications were enormous.
Okay.
His equations actually predicted the existence of something completely new,
What's that?
electromagnetic waves.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What exactly are electromagnetic waves?
Imagine ripples spreading out from a stone thrown into a pond.
Okay.
That's kind of what electromagnetic waves are like.
All right.
But instead of water, they're disturbances in the electromagnetic field.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really mind-blowing. Maxwell's equations predicted that light itself is an electromagnetic wave.
Hold on, light. The stuff we see with...
That's made of waves of electricity and magnetism.
Yes.
How is that even possible?
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Maxwell's work essentially connected light to the electromagnetic spectrum, placing it alongside things like radio waves and X-rays.
This is where I realized that this guy wasn't just smart.
He was basically a scientific superhero.
I mean, this is the foundation for so much of our modern world.
We're talking about everything from radios to cell phones to, well, the facts that we can even see.
Exactly.
But Maxwell's genius wasn't confined to theoretical physics.
Oh, there's more.
I can't wait to hear more.
Well, first let's take a closer look at just how groundbreaking that idea of light as an electromagnetic wave really was. Before Maxwell, scientists thought light just traveled in straight lines.
Oh, really?
His discovery of electromagnetic waves showed that light is actually part of a much broader spectrum of energy,
Yeah.
ranging from low-energy radio waves to high-energy gamma rays. It's like realizing that the colors you see are just a tiny sliver of a vast invisible rainbow.
That's incredible.
So every time I use my microwave,
Yeah.
listen to the radio, or even get an X-ray at the doctor's office, I'm experiencing Maxwell's discoveries in action.
Absolutely. It's mind-boggling to think how his work from the 1800s
I know.
laid the foundation for so much of our modern technology.
Yeah.
And it's not just about gadgets. It's about understanding the very nature of the universe.
Okay, so we've got electromagnetic waves, we've got light revolutionized.
Right.
What else did this scientific rock star do?
Well, remember his time at Cambridge?
Yes.
Becoming the first Cavendish professor of physics.
Oh, yeah. And wasn't he also instrumental in setting up the Cavendish Laboratory?
He was, and under his leadership, it became a hotbed for groundbreaking research.
Think about it, the discovery of the electron, the neutron, even unraveling the structure of DNA.
Wow.
All these monumental discoveries have roots in the work that Maxwell started at the Cavendish Lab.
Wow, talk about a legacy.
But, you know, for someone who accomplished so much in science,
Yeah.
I'm curious about what kind of person he was outside the lab.
Sure.
Was he just equations and experiments all the time?
Not at all. He was a man of many passions. He loved music, played the guitar, and even wrote poetry.
What? A physicist?
Imagine that. A brilliant physicist who could also express himself through art and verse.
It's like he had this whole other
A
side.
creative, artistic side. I love that.
It makes him seem so much more relatable.
And there's more.
Oh.
He was also known for his deep religious faith and philosophical views. He was married to Catherine Mary DeWar,
Oh,
though they didn't have children.
it's fascinating to see these different facets of his personality.
Yeah.
It challenges the stereotype of the scientist as this one-dimensional figure.
Totally consumed by their work.
And despite all his accomplishments, he was incredibly humble.
Oh, wow.
He disliked seeking fame
Mm-hmm.
and even wrote humorous poems under the pseudonym DP.
Really?
It's like he had this playful side.
Yeah, the sense of humor that kept him grounded.
That's so endearing. It makes me wonder,
Yeah.
what were some of those poems about?
Were they about science or everyday life?
Unfortunately, the details about those poems are a bit scarce.
Oh.
But it sparks a great question, doesn't it?
It does.
It makes you want to dig deeper into his personal life.
To understand the man behind the science.
I know. It's like a little mystery waiting to be solved.
But sadly, Maxwell's life was cut short.
It was.
He died at the young age of 48 from abdominal cancer.
It's a tragedy to think about all the potential discoveries he could have made if he had lived longer. I know. But even in his relatively short life, his impact on the world was immense.
Absolutely. It's almost overwhelming to think about how his work continues to ripple through time,
Right?
influencing our lives in countless ways.
Every time you turn on your phone, connect to the internet, or even just flip a light switch,
Wow.
you're tapping into the legacy of James Clerk Maxwell.
It's a powerful reminder that science isn't just about abstract theories. It's about shaping the world around us.
Making our lives easier and connecting us in ways that were unimaginable before his time.
Absolutely.
But I'm also curious, how did his contemporaries view him? Was he recognized as a genius during his lifetime? Or did his true impact become apparent later on?
That's a great question.
And it leads us to something really interesting. While Maxwell's brilliance was recognized by many during his lifetime, his impact on physics wasn't fully appreciated until later.
So he was kind of ahead of his time.
You could definitely say that.
Some of his ideas, especially those about electromagnetic waves and light,
Yeah.
were so revolutionary that it took time for the scientific community to fully grasp their significance.
It's like he planted these seeds of knowledge that continued to grow and blossom long after he was gone.
Exactly.
And it's fascinating to think about how his work influenced later generations of scientists.
Like who?
For example, Albert Einstein, whose theories of relativity revolutionized physics,
Oh, yeah.
was deeply inspired by Maxwell's equations.
Wow. So Maxwell's work wasn't just groundbreaking in its own right.
It actually paved the way for some of the most important scientific discoveries of the 20th century.
It's like he provided the building blocks for a whole new understanding of the universe.
It's really amazing to think about how interconnected everything is in science.
One person's discovery can spark a chain reaction of new ideas and breakthroughs.
It makes you wonder what other hidden connections are waiting to be discovered.
Right.
What other seemingly unrelated ideas might be two sides of the same coin, just like electricity and magnetism.
Speaking of connections,
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about the fact that Maxwell was a devoutly religious man. It's not something you always associate with the scientific mind.
It's a fascinating aspect of his character, isn't it?
Yeah.
For Maxwell, science and faith weren't in conflict.
Uh-huh.
They actually complemented each other.
Interesting.
He saw the universe as this magnificent creation full of order and beauty.
And he believed that studying its laws was a way of understanding God's design.
It really challenges the notion that science and religion have to be at odds.
Yeah.
For Maxwell, they were both part of a larger quest for truth and understanding,
It reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge can take many forms.
and that the greatest minds are often those who can bridge the gaps between seemingly disparate disciplines.
And it makes me think about all the ways we categorize people.
Right.
Scientist, artist, religious thinker.
Maxwell defied those categories.
He embraced all those aspects of himself, and perhaps that's part of what made him so unique.
It's a good reminder that human beings are complex and multifaceted.
We can be logical and creative, analytical and spiritual all at the same time.
I think there's a valuable lesson there, not just for scientists, but for all of us.
Don't be afraid to embrace your different passions.
Yeah.
To explore the connections between your interests.
Yeah.
You never know what amazing insights you might uncover.
Exactly, and who knows?
Maybe you'll even stumble upon a discovery that changes the world, just like James Clerk Maxwell.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We've journeyed from Maxwell's early fascination with math and geometry to his groundbreaking discoveries about electromagnetism.
Light and the kinetic theory of gases.
Wow.
We've seen how his work laid the foundation for countless technologies we use every day.
Yeah.
And we've even glimpsed into his personal life, his love of music and poetry, and his deep religious faith.
And I think the biggest takeaway from all of this
Is that Maxwell wasn't just a brilliant scientist. He was a visionary.
whose ideas continue to shape our understanding of the universe and our place within it.
So the next time you pick up your phone, stream a video.
Or simply marvel at the wonders of modern technology.
Take a moment to remember the name James Clerk Maxwell.
Hmm.
His legacy lives on not just in textbooks and laboratories, but in the very fabric of our modern world.
And who knows, maybe his story will inspire you to embrace your own curiosity.
To ask bold questions and to explore the world around you with fresh eyes. Because that's the spirit of scientific discovery.
And it's a spirit that lives on in all of us.
That's it for our deep dive into the extraordinary life and work of James Clerk Maxwell.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey and that you'll join us next time for another fascinating exploration.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the flame of curiosity burning bright.